आई रिमेंबर मुझे जब फाइनली व्हीलचेयर पे लेके गए नीचे डॉक्टर के पास, उन्होंने मेरा फिर से स्कैन किया एंड ही जस्ट डिड दिस, देयर इज नथिंग लेफ्ट एंड आई वाज इन द बेड एंड आई वाज जस्ट क्राइंग एंड मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल्स में ना, मतलब जैसे लड़कों को अलाउ नहीं करते, लाइक इवन इफ इट्स योर हस्बैंड यू आर नॉट अलाउड to be there with you in the scan or in the labor room or these things थोड़ा separate रखते हैं, तो even he was not there. So after he took me back, and we were lying in the bed, that's when he opened up by crying. I noticed that there was a lot of fresh bleed and मुझे कुछ अंदर से आया and I just started crying. And doctor आ गए and he's like कि नहीं, don't cry, it has a negative effect on your baby. And I just had a feeling कि something is going wrong. And I had a lot of cramping and I had no idea that cramping is again a sign of miscarriage. I had no idea. And I remember lifestyle में हम आजकल हैं जहाँ पे career is the most important thing. We never talk about like कि यार शादी करनी चाहिए या फिर बच्चे करने चाहिए. हम बोलते नहीं ये बाद में करेंगे. And फिर जब ऐसे lifestyle के साथ आप जब आते हो, तब ये थोड़ा सा लगता है कि वाओ यार, वी आर ऑल्सो केपेबल ऑफ डूइंग दिस थिंग्स. एंड
Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond the Surface podcast presented by CognifAI. Today we have very special guest with us. Someone who has gained a lot of attention on Instagram because of what she created. She is known by the name Baanki Bitti. She created a character that is well known amongst Himachalis, and as an animator she is doing very fantastic job, right? This podcast is going to be very different from what we have done till now. This is going to share a very personal journey. It can get a little dark at times, but then again, we are here to share personal journeys, dive deep into the surface, right? And know more about the human psychology. With this, I have introduced Anjali. And Anjali, now I want you to introduce yourself in your own style.
hi everyone, and thank you Harsh for having me here. I'm so glad that you reached out and you wanted to hear from me about things that I generally don't talk about on the internet.
Yes.
Yes, everyone knows me as Baanki Bitti, or someone who's done who's a designer who's done her masters from IIT and now working at Microsoft and all that. But you reached out and you wanted me to talk about my personal life a little bit, the dark side, like you said, all the ups and downs of my life. So, yeah, I'm very happy to be here and I'm really looking forward to how this conversation unfolds.
Right. Before starting, I just want to ask, how are you doing right now?
I'm doing actually very well. Thanks for asking. That's
Yeah.
something a therapist would ask.
Yes.
So,
You know that therapist wala part just kicks in every time
yeah, it
I'm
just kicks
talking to a
in.
person.
Every time I talk to Harsh, somewhere उसका therapist वाला दिमाग शुरू हो जाता है चलना.
वो चलना शुरू हो जाता है. All right. First of all, thank you, Anjali, so much for doing this and agreeing to do what we have decided to do and sharing things, sharing your very personal journey. Thank you so much for that. All right. Uh, I'll just open up and let people know what are we going to discuss. All right. With your consent, of course. So you have been quite vocal about your miscarriage
Yeah.
on social media, right? And this is the very reason we are conducting this podcast today, because this is something I think personally, that people should know about. It is still a taboo that people do not talk about it. Leave alone this, people even do not talk about very general things that they are suffering with in their usual life, like stress for that matter, right? लोगों को लगता है अगर हम इसके बारे में बात करेंगे तो हमें लोग बोलेंगे कि यार ये तो बंदा पागल ही हो गया हुआ. See, things do not work like that, and they should not work like that, right? We should take a step forward and do something in a way that should, first of all, उन लोगों को पता चले कि there is someone who can be with you. There can be a support system. There is something. It is not something to be very afraid of, and you can actually get out of it, right? Coming back to you, sending the social message apart. I want you to brief that specific period in your life.
Sorry, you want me to do what?
I want you to brief about that specific period in your life.
Like which part? It's a long
All
journey.
right. All right. So let's just start from the. We can start from the very first day that you got to know that you are having a baby, first of all.
Oh my God, I cried. I told my husband, I am a baby. I am the baby. And
You
yeah,
were
when we
not ready
found
for
out
that.
that we were expecting, I think I had no idea. Okay, but I had no. I had done some tests and they were all negative. And हमें पता था कि पता चल जाता है. मतलब the first time you see your periods, you find out that you're that you're pregnant. Um, but that was not the case with me. I found out that we were expecting 5 weeks when like the embryo was already 5 weeks. So इतना late
Right.
पता चला था हमें. And वो भी because मुझे थोड़ा PCOD का भी issue था, तो वो cramps वगैरह होते थे पर periods नहीं आते थे, ऐसा कुछ 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 होता था. So my neighbor told me that just take a test, and I'm like no मतलब it's just my PCOD and stuff. She's like, just take a test. So I took a test. I was alone in the house, and it came positive, and I started crying. My heart
Wow.
sank because वो एक time होता है when you feel like that your body is not the same anymore. It's not just you. There's someone inside you.
Right.
Very I can't put it in words, but I was scared, excited, overwhelmed, so overwhelmed, and I was crying and crying and crying. And I called my mom and I was crying again. And I've seen a lot of these, on movies, they show ki, acha, you plan. How do you tell your husband? Women plan it. I just cried in front of my husband. He came home and I'm like, and
Okay.
he was also like, but I think we learned to be okay with this because it was new for both of us. कि अरे ये कैसे अब हम क्या करेंगे? What are we supposed to do? And also we were not living with our parents. तो हमें पता नहीं था how to deal with this properly. So yeah, we were both super overwhelmed, but I remember going for the first scan and everything, and then we saw the heartbeat and everything. And we slowly got.
That must be really, heart touching, right? I mean, giving a birth itself seems an idea that is wow. I mean, you can give birth to another person, right?
Yeah. मतलब until that news came, कि we are expecting, and until we saw that heartbeat, life was very different, and our perspective towards life was very different. But when we saw life, inside me, and we realized what humans are capable of. I mean, everyone is capable of. And this might sound stupid, but the first time आपके साथ experience होता है, आप ऐसे thoughts में चले जाते हो, existential thoughts में.
It happens. It actually happens.
हाँ,
Yeah.
स्पेशली जिस तरह की लाइफस्टाइल में हम आजकल हैं, जहाँ पे करियर इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग. वी नेवर टॉक अबाउट लाइक कि यार शादी करनी चाहिए या फिर बच्चे करने चाहिए. हम बोलते नहीं नहीं ये बाद में करेंगे, बाद में करेंगे. एंड फिर जब ऐसे लाइफस्टाइल के साथ आप जब आते हो, तब ये थोड़ा सा लगता है कि वाओ यार, वी आर ऑल्सो केपेबल ऑफ डूइंग दिस थिंग्स. एंड I remember constantly thinking about my mother and my nani also. I don't have any memories with my nani, but मतलब मुझे ऐसी उनके बारे में मैं बहुत सोचती थी कि इट्स हैपनिंग बिकॉज़ ऑफ मतलब व्हाटएवर इज बिल्डिंग इनसाइड ऑफ मी, देयर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ माय ग्रैंडमॉम एंड माय मॉम इन इट आल्सो. So I think more than my husband, I was feeling connected with my maternal ancestors. Yeah.
Okay. This is a very heart touching moment, actually. I have not felt it, of course. I'm not married, neither do I have any kids. But then, yeah, no, it is not important nowadays to have kids and
Yeah.
be married, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. No, I want to feel that that feeling of having a kid one day. The very first time that I will get to hear, this idea, this very idea, is very intriguing and heart touching, of course.
It's
No, it,
magical.
it is magical. I mean, this is what a human body is capable of, creating one another human body, right? There is a whole lot of science behind it, but then let's not jump into it.
Yeah. We're not experts.
Let's just let's just be happy with what we have, right?
Just talk about feelings.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that how happy you would be. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a
Now let's
twist here.
just
We were not
talk about the.
immediately,
Mm,
sorry, there's a
mm.
twist too. We were not immediately elated, we were not immediately, wow, like they show in the movies and stuff. We were actually very scared and we were crying. But
Ah.
slowly we learned to be okay with it. Slowly, we
Mm,
were, okay, this is us. This is going to be the new thing.
mm.
In fact, that also
Yes.
changed, our dynamic of our marriage also. But we can talk about that later.
Well, everyone has their own way of processing emotions, right? Uh, how did you come to know that you had a miscarriage? What happened?
Okay,
Do you want to?
um, so my husband, because of his job, he's in the military. He had to go for some time. Like, I don't want to talk about the details, but he had to go.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And anyway, like उस टाइम पे ऐसा था कि he was not he did not even have one Sunday for many weeks. And anyway, my job was also getting stressful because I had to work from home and stuff, and my husband was also never there, and I was very alone anyway, during all this time. um इवन दो वो सुबह-सुबह उठ के उसको अगर 7 बजे जाना है तो वो और थोड़ा आधा घंटा उठ के would make some juice for me, so that my day started with some nutrition, because anyway the entire day I have to fight my own battles. So
Mm,
all that was good, but that's not enough, right? Like ऐसे टाइम पे you
mm,
need. So I remember he had to go again, and it was a Sunday, and he had a few hours, just a few
okay.
hours during the day, and he said, "You know what? I'll take you out." So he took me out, and हमने बाहर खाना खाया, and we came back, and he said, "Okay, now I have to go." So he went. Um, Although वो थोड़ा रात को फिर से आया था,
Mm,
just to say goodbye, because he was gonna go for
right.
some days, and I was
Mm,
crying and stuff. चलो ठीक है, he
mm,
left. The moment he left, after 30 minutes after that, I noticed that I was bleeding. I
mm,
saw a red, bleeding, and मुझे बस इतना पता था कि अगर ब्लीड हो रहा है देन इट्स नॉट अ गुड थिंग। इट्स नॉट अ गुड
okay.
थिंग, बट क्या होता है क्या नहीं मुझे इतना डिटेल्स नहीं पता था। सो माय
Mm,
नेबर, आई वेंट टू हर एंड आई सेड कि देखो ऐसा-ऐसा हो रहा है, एंड luckily she was a nurse herself. So
oh,
she did not even let me move from that chair. I said that, I'll just get some pads and stuff from my house, and she's like, hospital जाना पड़ेगा। मैं सामान लेके आती हूँ। बोलती no, you sit here, I'll go and get it, because we had to take the stairs. सो आई एम लाइक ऐसा क्या हो गया? तो एंड बिकॉज़ शी इज़ अ नर्स, उसने एकदम से ऐसे डायग्नोस कर दिया। बोलते ये ना थ्रेटेंड अबॉर्शन होता है, तो तू बैठे रह। एंड आई
mm,
हर्ड द वर्ड अबॉर्शन एंड आई स्टार्टेड क्राइंग अगेन। एंड अभी तक आई वाज़
mm,
नॉट 100%, मतलब वो हैप्पीनेस, वो मीटर एकदम 100% भी नहीं गया था अभी तक कि मैं ओह आई एम प्रेग्नेंट,
right.
100% भी नहीं गया था। बट स्टिल आई
Mm,
स्टार्टेड क्राइंग, एंड आई एम लाइक क्या? एंड आई रिमेंबर फिर मुझे बहुत आराम-आराम से गाड़ी में बिठा के लेके गई, हॉस्पिटल में हम रुके, एंड वहाँ पे मुझे व्हीलचेयर पे बिठाया
mm,
और मुझे व्हीलचेयर पे लेके गए,
mm,
एंड दे वर लाइक कि कनिष्क को बुलाओ। एंड आई एम लाइक नहीं-नहीं, उस वो तो चला गया, उसको तो ड्यूटी पे जाना था ना, ही इज़ गॉन। He's like, नहीं नहीं उसको बुलाओ. And I'm like,
Mm.
but why do bother him? You know, ये तो ऐसे ही ठीक हो जाएगा ना, इंजेक्शन देंगे, कुछ दवाई देंगे, ठीक हो जाएगा. So until the end,
Mm.
last moment, I had no idea what was going on.
You were still not aware what was happening exactly.
No, I had no idea, and no one was telling me either. So when Kanish came, वो आया फिर भागते-भागते और मैं उसको
Mm.
बोल रही हूँ कि यार मज़े हैं ये तो है ना, मैं तो छुट्टी डाल देती हूँ कल की. मुझे हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट कर दिया है, मैं कल की छुट्टी डाल रही हूँ, तू मेरी बुक्स ले आ, मेरे फ्रूट्स ले आ, मेरा आईपैड ले आ, मेरे ईयरफ़ोन्स ले आ, मैं थोड़ा-सा यहाँ पे बैठूँगी.
Mm.
मुझे आज जाते उन्होंने फिर प्रोजेस्टेरॉन के इंजेक्शन दिए. मुझे कुछ-कुछ इंजेक्शंस भी दिए उन्होंने व्हिच आर वेरी पेनफुल बाय द वे. बट आई एम लाइक
Mm.
चल ठीक है ये आ गया, इसको भी भेज दिया, इसकी भी छुट्टी हो गई, मेरी भी छुट्टी हो गई, अब हम मज़े करेंगे.
Mm.
एंड आई रिमेंबर नेक्स्ट डे फिर ओवरनाइट मैंने जैसे-तैसे निकाली. इट वाज़ बेड रेस्ट. नेक्स्ट डे
Mm.
थोड़ा-सा और ब्लीडिंग हुआ, थोड़ा और ब्लीडिंग. मुझे बस इतना बोला था दैट document all the pads. So every pad has to be put in the dustbin, so
Mm.
that the doctor can come and see. And I had no idea why that was the case. And कनिष्क पे ना मतलब I have blind trust हर चीज़ को लेके.
Mm.
तो वो मुझे बोल रहा था कि मैंने रेडिट पे पढ़ लिया है. कुछ गलत नहीं होगा, ये ठीक ही होता है, ये ऐसे होता है, नॉर्मल है. मैंने रेडिट पे पढ़ लिया है और मैं ऐसे हाँ, हाँ, मेरा पति जो बोलेगा वो सच है. सो देन मॉर्निंग में भी डॉक्टर आए एंड उन्होंने भी देखा तो आई वाज़ नॉर्मल. मैं मज़े से संतरे खा रही हूँ और अपना आई एम जस्ट लाइक हाँ ठीक है बुक्स पढ़ रही हूँ अपनी. एंड देन आई नोटिस्ड दैट देयर वाज़ अ लॉट ऑफ फ्रेश ब्लीड एंड मुझे
Mm.
कुछ अंदर से आया एंड आई जस्ट स्टार्टेड क्राइंग. एंड डॉक्टर आ गए एंड ही इज़ लाइक कि नहीं डोंट क्राई, इट हैज़ अ नेगेटिव इफेक्ट ऑन योर बेबी. एंड आई जस्ट हैड अ फीलिंग कि समथिंग इज़ गोइंग रॉन्ग. And
Mm.
I had a lot of cramping, and I had no idea that cramping is again a sign of miscarriage. I had no idea. And I remember I was in the washroom, Kanish was holding me, and I had terrible cramping, like 10 times more, compared to when you have your period. And I felt something came out. And this is getting very explicit, but I thought maybe I pooped. I really thought कि maybe it's so painful that that happened. And then I looked down, and it was the entire fetus. वो पूरा का पूरा इट हैड कम आउट एंड आई रिमेंबर आई वाज़ ऑन द ड्रिप आल्सो बिकॉज़ मुझे ड्रिप भी दे रहे थे. एंड इतना वो मतलब वैसा कि ऑल द ब्लड हैड आल्सो गॉन अप. हमने नोटिस नहीं किया था कि द ड्रिप इज़ फिनिश्ड एंड वो ड्रिप के साथ ही वॉशरूम में एंड कनिष्क वाज़ जस्ट होल्डिंग माय हैंड एंड इट वाज़ वेरी आई डोंट थिंक ट्रॉमेटिक इज़ द राइट वर्ड टू यूज़ बट नॉट अ वेरी प्लेजेंट experience. It was painful. It was I don't know, it was a lot of things. I remember coming back to the bed and being very happy
Mm.
that good riddance. It's weird, no? But I was in the bed and I was like, oh, chalo, theek hai, Kanish, theek ho gaya, acha ho gaya. And after half an hour, it hit me what had happened. अभी उस हाफ एन आवर में मैंने रजिस्टर भी नहीं किया था कि क्या हुआ है. Maybe it
Mm.
was because I was naive. I don't know. Someone
Mm.
told me that ये चीज़ होती है जब you are in labor and the child comes out, mothers are wired
Mm.
to feel happy
Ah, yes, of course.
after that. So it's a
Yeah.
mini labor experience
Mm.
that you went through. And maybe that's
Mm.
why you felt happy.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how I found out. I actually found out I'm having a miscarriage after I had my miscarriage.
Mm.
And funny, no one told me um, that you're having a miscarriage. Yeah.
You know, at the time of birth, there is a hormone called oxytocin that is released during the labor birth, and it is also given to ease, as you said that you were given progesterone, right? It also helps in that. I mean, what should I say? This is
The doctor told me that it's a good thing that you had a natural miscarriage, that you don't have to go through any
Mm.
operation for this.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I appreciate the way you are still smiling
Yeah, of course.
and taking it.
Thank you.
my heart goes with you. All right. I know people who must be listening to this would be overwhelmed as well, because this is a story that is a little traumatic, right? And we want them to, you know, understand and see what could be the things that could have stopped it. I don't know. I don't want to dive deep into that stuff because it would be very personal. I don't want to go over there, right? I agree. It is, you know, you agreed to do this. This is a very big thing, but I would not dive deep into the very personal stuff, right? Only the stuff that should be shared. I would only ask you to share that. All right. Coming to the other question, you have already shared that you were feeling a little happiness, and that is also because of the oxytocin that I have explained why that happened. When you registered that something like this has happened, what did what did it feel like?
Hmm. Um, so in the hospital, so matlab, I was completely, just depending on my husband. I was so glad he was there, because if he had gone, he would have found out about this thing, weeks later. So वो थोड़ा सा
That would
मुझे
be very
प्रॉब्लम हो जाता उस चीज से. But I was glad he was able to come back in such short notice. I'm so grateful to his boss also.
yeah.
Because his job is so important, but he was still sent back. Um, in the hospital, I was just relying on him for everything. मुझे व्हीलचेयर पे ले जा रहे थे. आई रिमेम्बर मुझे जब फाइनली व्हीलचेयर पे लेके गए नीचे डॉक्टर के पास, उन्होंने मेरा फिर से स्कैन किया, एंड he just did this. There's nothing left. And I was in the bed and I was just crying, 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 crying. And military hospitals में ना मतलब जैसे लड़कों को allow नहीं करते. Like even if it's your husband, you're not allowed to be there with you in the scan or in the labor room or these things. थोड़ा separate रखते हैं. So even he was not there. So after he took me back, um, and we were lying in the bed, that's when he opened up by
Hmm.
crying. सो आई थिंक मोर देन जितना हमें टाइम खुश होने का नहीं मिला था, उससे ज़्यादा हमें टाइम उससे ज़्यादा हमने टाइम दुःख दुःख मनाने में निकाला. ही ओपन अप एंड व्हेन ही ओपन्ड अप आई स्टॉप्ड क्राइंग. कि भाई
Hmm.
तू क्यों रो रहा है? तू मत रो.
Hmm.
तू रो मतलब वन पर्सन हैज टू बी स्टॉप्ड. आई रिमेंबर फॉलोइंग दैट. इट वाज जस्ट डेज ऑफ हैप्पीनेस एंड क्राइंग. मतलब उस
Hmm.
दिन मुझे समझ आया कि जो बोलते हैं ना पोस्टपार्टम, मतलब पोस्टपार्टम नहीं, उसके बाद मुझे समझ आया जो बोलते हैं ना वुमेन में हार्मोन्स होते हैं वो क्या होते हैं. आई एक्चुअली
Hmm. Yeah.
फेल्ट दोस एक्सट्रीम्स में.
The
एक टाइम पे आई
fluctuation.
वाज फुल्ली मोटिवेटेड कि नहीं एवरीथिंग इज ओके. एक टाइम पे आई एम जस्ट सिटिंग एंड जस्ट स्टार्ट क्राइंग.
Hmm.
मतलब कुछ अच्छा भी करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, मेरे को बस ऐसे बैठ के रोना आ जाएगा. आई फेल लाइक देयर इज नथिंग लेफ्ट इन दिस वर्ल्ड. कुछ नहीं रह गया है. मैं अपनी जॉब छोड़ दूँगी, मैं सब छोड़ दूँगी, मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. देयर इज़ नो पर्पस इन दिस लाइफ एनीमोर.
Hmm.
समवेयर आई फील दैट मेबी हार्मोन्स हैड अ रोल टू प्ले इन दैट.
Hmm.
मेबी इट वाज़ जस्ट अ
Maybe.
वे. आज मुझे ऐसा लगता है लाइक इट्स बीन अ फ्यू मंथ्स कि मेबी इट वाज़ जस्ट हार्मोन्स टेलिंग मी टू स्लो डाउन, टू नॉट बी एक्साइटेड अबाउट एनीथिंग, जस्ट टू रेस्ट सो दैट आई कैन रेस्ट. बट उस टाइम पे ये पता नहीं होता. इट वाज़ अ मिक्स ऑफ grief, काफ़ी major grief, questioning my body, that
Hmm.
there something wrong with me. It was also, uh, having to take care of my body because
Hmm.
physical recovery is as important.
Hmm.
So, and also being there for Kanishk because he's also, gone through something like that. आज भी मैं उसे
Yeah, he
पूछती
was
हूँ, he tells
also a
me
part
that,
of it, no?
sorry,
He was also a very big part of it.
yes, he was. But
Yeah.
when I ask him, he tells me कि I was just more concerned about you, that you are, suffering, that you are going through this. So how was I feeling? Um, a lot of dark things. Yeah. A lot of dark things.
It is very usual for women to feel anhedonia. Anhedonia, do you understand anhedonia? Anhedonia is a clinical term. That means that a person does not feel like doing anything. They feel that it is the end of everything. It is the very thing that you faced. It is very usual of women to feel that way after going through a very traumatic experience like a miscarriage, right? I want to ask you one thing. Do you think parents have a role to play during pregnancy?
Definitely. Um, there's a lot of generational knowledge. Not every pregnancy is also different, you know. मुझे ज़्यादा इतना पता नहीं है because I've never carried to full term, but I would have really appreciated my parents' involvement in this thing from beginning to end. Not only when you are pregnant, but starting from when you start menstruating. Having that sort of open conversation with your mothers is so important. I can't like emphasize on this enough. Um, when I was expecting, मैंने तब जाके अपने लिए बुक्स ऑर्डर करी थी pregnancy related to educate myself on this, and I realized that you should be so physically active at least a decade, for a decade long. If you train well, if exercising, if you're doing all these things, तो तुम्हारा लेबर और ये जो मतलब प्रेगनेंसी का वो होता है दैट
Yeah.
काफी इजी हो जाता है वो. उसके अलावा जस्ट अ जनरल नॉलेज ऑन तुम्हारे एग्स की हेल्थ या तुम्हारे जो रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ होती है, उस इन चीज़ों के बारे में काफ़ी लेट समझ आना शुरू होता है. How your eating habits have an impact on all these things, how your job, how your lifestyle has so much impact on these things. It's so important.
Right.
मैंने अपने बारे में काफ़ी चीज़ें डिस्कवर की, जैसे I have thalassemia, which is running in my family for so long. It's a genetic disorder, which no one knew. सबको लगता था इससे क्या ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं होता, इससे थोड़ा एचबी कम रहता है, इसका कुछ ऐसे हेल्थ पे इम्पैक्ट नहीं होता. बट इफ यू गेट मैरिड टू समवन हु आल्सो हैज थैलेसीमिया, देन योर किड्स will there's a possibility they'll have an alpha thalassemia, जिसके लिए उनको बोन मैरो ट्रांसप्लांटेशन की जरूरत पड़ेगी, एंड उनको हर महीने ब्लड चढ़ेगा एंड ऑल दैट. सो ये सब नॉलेज कभी होती ही नहीं है हमारे पास, एंड तभी मैंने जनरेशनल नॉलेज की बात की कि सम थिंग्स आर रनिंग इन योर फैमिली विच यू नीड टू बी अवेयर ऑफ. सो
Right.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल उस टाइप की नॉलेज जो होती है वो आप देनी चाहिए बच्चों को, थोड़ा सा खुद को भी अवेयर करना चाहिए. आई थिंक आज की जनरेशन इस चीज़ को लेके ज़्यादा एक्सेप्टिंग है. अदर देन दैट, सपोर्ट बहुत ज़रूरी होता है. मेंटल सपोर्ट, इमोशनल सपोर्ट बहुत ज़रूरी होता है. व्हेन यू टेल योर पेरेंट्स कि यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग, द वे दे रिएक्ट एक काफ़ी इम्पोर्टेंट होता है वो. जैसे एंड वो चीज़ें याद भी रहती हैं सबसे ज़्यादा. मेरी मदर इन लॉ ने मेरे लिए ये किया, आई विल ऑलवेज रिमेंबर इट. Especially आज की जनरेशन में, when we are going out for college, we are going out for work, when we are not living with um, people who are also having kids. जैसे घर पे किसी का बच्चा है, आप उसके साथ घूमते हो, वहाँ घर पे कोई प्रेग्नेंट है, आप उसको देखते हो, आपको काफी पता चलता है कि अच्छा ऐसा होता है. यू गेट एक इंटर्नशिप टाइप की हो जाती है आपकी. बट व्हेन यू गो टू वर्क, व्हेन यू गो आउट फॉर हॉस्टल्स में रह रहे हो, अकेले रह रहे हो, तो आपको वो सोशल सर्कल नहीं मिलता. तो उस केस में मतलब थोड़ा पेरेंट्स का इन्वॉल्वमेंट, आई थिंक इट मल्टीप्लाई हो जाता है काफी.
Yeah, right. I mean, you have already answered the question that I wanted to ask, that how much important is support in such situations, right? Support from both the parties. I mean, from maternal and paternal. I mean, in-laws, of course, in-laws, and from your maternal side. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Everyone is very happy and celebrates with you when you tell them you're expecting. But when you tell them you have a miscarriage, no one wants to talk about it. Like it's something to be ashamed of. Like it's something that's not worth talking about. And that's exactly when you need the most talking. That's exactly when you
That
need
is.
people to call
That's
you and
true.
ask you if you're okay.
And this is the very reason we wanted to do this. We wanted people to know. And thank you yet again for doing this.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a follow-up question. Um, what were the coping mechanisms that you used mentally and physically?
Hmm. Um, it's so important to be married to the right person. It's so important. जब शुरू में हम दोनों की शादी हुई थी तो we used to put a lot of reels and stuff. काफी लोग मुझे पूछते थे कि like how do you know that this is the guy for you? How do you know? I did not know. Matlab, of course, I wanted to be with him, but I think as life unfolds, you experience so much together, and then you realize that this was a good decision. So I really think being with the right person at that time is so important. Um, we were both alone. मतलब हम दोनों ही थे. हम we were not with the family. In a way, I preferred it that way because I was so open with him. I could be so open with him. I could, just let my emotions flow. अगर हम बाहर बैठे हुए हैं, मुझे रोना आया तो मैं रोऊँगी ज़ोर-ज़ोर से. There is no hiding anything. I was able to, very openly be myself. In fact, uh, after a few days, he had to go again for his work. My mother had come, and I did not like it so much. But obviously, I loved having my mom home, but I was not 100% me in front of her. जैसे मैं होती थी मतलब एक time पे. This was a new me, and that new me did not know how to be with my mom
Yeah.
because my mom was still being the old mom. You know, you know what I mean? Is it making sense?
It is making perfect sense. I'm getting.
So, Kanishk, on the other hand, my life partner, on the other hand, he had also evolved with me. He had gone through that phase with me. So I really wanted to be with just him. मुझे पता नहीं था मम्मी से क्या बात करनी है, क्या बोलूँ मैं, मतलब क्या? While my mom was still being the same. Although I think in her own way she was trying to change also, but it was a little bit mismatched. So definitely having the right sort of support system is so important, and that's when I say that being married to the right person, is so important. Someone who would actually care. In fact, our marriage, touch wood, only grew stronger after that. मतलब मैं बोलती हूँ ये चीज कि मतलब we lost that, लेकिन we gained so much. We gained us. I discovered you as a husband, you discovered me as a wife, अभी we refer us as a family. पहले तो हम ऐसे रहते थे like bachelor, like yo हम तो अपने YOLO life में. But I think after that incident, we've started considering ourselves as a family. We are a family. So वो चीज़ है. उसके अलावा there is one thing that I did. I don't think I've spoken about it with you before, Hamish. But there is accidentally I stumbled upon a game on Xbox,
Oh, which
and that game is called huh
which game?
yeah. This game is called Gris. Okay.
Gris.
And this game played such a major role in my recovery mentally.
Mm.
This game, matlab, I accidentally stumbled upon it. So, matlab, Microsoft maybe get an this thing, no, Game Pass.
Okay.
So we have that running. So that game had just come to Game Pass,
All right.
and it was in the suggestions. And मैंने अच्छा लग रहा था, मैंने खोल दिया, and I started playing it. This game is based on the 5 stages of grief.
Mm.
So there's a girl who in this game loses her mom, and then every chapter of this game is basically one phase of grief. So the first one is denial,
Yes.
right? And then there's anger.
Yes.
There is also depression, and then there is bargaining, and then there is acceptance, right? And did I?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So and me being a designer, like I don't only communicate with words, I also communicate through colors, and I understand sounds. I'm very sensitive to all these things, to lights and stuff. And that game was entirely that. for me. Um, and it was there was like no death in that game. जैसे कई में होता है ना मर जाते हैं, life होती है, उसमें कुछ नहीं होता. You can always retry and retry and retry. And although I am not the gamer in the house, it's my husband, but still, like I, मैं बस वही खेलती रहती थी, वही खेलती रहती थी. And by the time I reached acceptance, uh, मतलब मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. In fact, I used to cry while playing that game.
Wow.
And I did not even know what's going on because I did not have any energy into, going on the internet and seeing what this game is about and stuff. I just used to play it. Although later I discovered, acha, this game is for people who are grieving. So for people, who are into like such stuff, maybe they can like check that out. So yeah, it was just me and my game, honestly. Like, and my mom was there. She used to feed me. She used to make sure. This time, you really need someone who can take care of you. So yeah, she took care of me that way.
Wow. This is a new way of taking care of grief. Thanks to Microsoft that it has introduced it. Who made this game though? You have any idea?
I forgot their names.
Okay.
But it's called Gris. Maybe you can put it.
All right, I'll put a video explaining what it is and what it does and what are the stages.
Should.
So,
Yeah.
I'll put that. All right. That is one way, you took up an activity that helped you get out of it.
I also used to talk to my therapist. And she used to tell me that what you're going through is not normal. So don't expect to feel normal.
Of course.
And मुझे उस चीज समझ नहीं आती थी. Now when I look back, अब मुझे समझ आता है. लेकिन उस टाइम मुझे लगता था नहीं. This time now you really need someone to come and tell you that this is going to pass.
Right. I mean, this is what the job of a therapist is, to make you understand what you are currently feeling or what you need to feel, right? लोग पहले हमें लोग होते थे समझाने के लिए कि this is what it is, what you need to do. But then again, with the passage of time, now we have therapists. This is what their job is, right? I'm glad that you took support of a mental health professional. They helped you went through this journey, not alone, understanding your all of the emotions that were there in you.
Yeah, she was really there. She told me a lot of techniques also. Yeah, she used to tell me a lot of things.
Anything you might want to share?
Yeah, she used to tell me that focus on present and now. Like my career. कि oh shit, ये क्या हो गया? And I think जैसे with maternity leaves, right? I was on leaves for a few weeks. Although I did not do like a full 3-month leave, but I was on leave for a few weeks. I think somewhere it's very easy to have guilt kick in while taking those leaves as well. So it was happening with me also. And I had to fight it. Ki nahi, you need this recovery right now. I remember my manager called me also in between and gave me some updates, and I felt very good.
All right.
But जैसे मतलब, you sometimes talk to young employees or some young people right out of college and stuff, and their perspective towards these leaves are is a little screwed.
Yes.
Yeah, मतलब अरे it's just another vacation. अरे तुम्हारी छुट्टी है ना, तो छुट्टी में कर लेना, अभी तुम छुट्टी लोगी तो. But it's not really that. मतलब I really feel that women, obviously women's representation in workplace is very important, but God has also given a role to women, which if you don't do, then who is going to join the medical forces later?
Yeah.
Who is going to join the military? Who's going to run this country? What is the future of this country? So I really felt that women have such strong roles to play, which shouldn't be looked down upon, but they should be celebrated. That, oh wow, you also have to do this. That's great, and the least we can do for you is give you some time off.
Celebrate, Bobby. This is something people will not understand. we were discussing this beyond the camera, that about a few movies, not getting into the names, no, not getting into the names of any, but yeah, Barbie being one of them, and we were just discussing why it is so famous, and now I have the reason. Now I know why were you so reluctant on just telling me no, it is a good movie, it is a good movie. Okay,
Yeah.
taking your word. All right. You are a modern woman in all sense, in a true sense as well. Working as well, tr- managing family as well, trying to make a family as well, right?
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
I think I or anyone else cannot be a modern woman in isolation.
Hmm.
I can't one day decide that I want to be a modern woman and just be a modern woman. I think it comes with the support of society and systems. I was able to prioritize my recovery because my company gives me that sort of, it has policies in place
Hmm.
that lets me take time off and
Alright.
prioritize myself. The culture is such that my manager was so kind
Hmm.
that people understood. In fact, you won't believe the majority part of my team is women.
Hmm.
So even my colleagues were so empathizing. Not once did I feel after going back to work that अरे ये तो छुट्टियां मना के आ रही है.
Hmm.
Everyone was very empathetic. In fact, I immediately jumped back on my work, and I think I have been more focused, and I'm able to do better now. Um, ever since I've come back, and that thing is being noticed, it's being celebrated, and I also had this performance review sort of a thing in between, and मतलब कहीं पे ऐसा नहीं था कि oh you had a gap, what did you do? So I think that sort of confidence that I can do both.
It was well understood to the company as well, right?
Not only company but at home as well.
Hmm.
So at home my husband is also as supporting, that he understands that it सिर्फ घर का although मुझे शौक है घर के काम करने का, मेरे को मजा आता है खाना बनाने में, ये सब करने में, but it's not my job.
Right.
I do it because I like to do it. So मॉडर्न वुमन आप तभी बन सकते हो अगर आपकी जो एनवायरनमेंट है, आपकी जो सोसाइटी है, आपकी जो सिस्टम्स हैं, वो
Right.
आपको एनेबल करते हैं वो बनने के लिए.
Hmm.
आई रियली बिलीव.
There is a whole lot of a topic that we can dive into, like what exactly is a modern woman and how modern woman is made, and then there is a whole, shun patriarchy and that all of that system. But that's not a topic for today. Maybe some other day.
That's not the topic for today. We're just talking about feelings.
Yeah, we're talking about feelings for today. All right. I mean, you have consolidated and told everything that you went through. What were your feelings? Who were your support systems? What were the things that helped you come out of this thing? Right? How did you realize that? Right? We have talked in brief regarding that. And okay, now my next follow up question would be, you were being vocal about what was happening to you on social media, right? And that was one way that I got to know about this thing. Why did you choose to go vocal?
I've anyway been, very open about, selectively open, but open about certain things on social media. Like मैं हूँ social media पे डालती हूँ मैं चीजों को, रील्स बनाती हूँ क्या चल रहा है जिंदगी में. So when this happened, मतलब it was such a life changing thing, like वो बंदी बदल गई एकदम.
Right.
जब हो जाता है, ऑल्दो मैंने सोचा नहीं था कि मतलब व्हाइल आई वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग, आई डिड नॉट थिंक कि मैं इसके बारे में मैं डालूंगी, लेकिन व्हेन दिस हैपेंड, देयर वर टू रीजंस. ऑब्वियसली आई वांटेड टू ऑनर द लाइफ दैट नेवर कुड बी, आई वांटेड टू ऑनर दैट. मैंने काफी ज्यादा ऐसे फोटोज ली थी. मैंने एक फोटो एल्बम भी बनाई है जिसमें हमारे फर्स्ट स्कैन्स हैं, या फिर जो टेस्ट पॉजिटिव आया था उसके फोटोज हैं, या ऑल दोस थिंग्स. आई वाज डॉक्यूमेंटेड ऑल दैट.
Wow.
मैंने नाम भी सोच लिया था. मैंने एक इंस्टाग्राम पेज बनाया था जहाँ पे आई वाज डॉक्यूमेंटिंग एवरीथिंग. स्टोरीज डाल दी थी, लाइक कि देखो तुम्हारे पापा जूस बना रहे हैं मेरे लिए, या दिस इज हाउ वी फीलिंग, यू नो, दिस इज व्हाट वी डूइंग व्हेन यू स्टिल नॉट हियर. um
Oh my god. This is heavy.
yeah, of course. All that thing cannot be, you know, it shouldn't just go to garbage
Yeah,
like it was nothing.
right.
So I obviously मतलब wanted to honor that, you know. ऐसा नहीं है कि miscarriage हो गया तो that it's not worth celebrating, like
Hmm.
but life, मतलब the heart was beating, right? So uh, yeah, it was there. अब नहीं है, कोई बात नहीं, but it was there. So I wanted to put that mark in the world that she was there. मैं she imagine करती हूँ. So that was one reason, definitely.
Hmm.
And the second reason was um, मुझे realize हुआ that miscarriage is so common. That's not a unique experience to me. जब मैंने इसके बारे में डाला, इनफैक्ट जब मैं डाल रही थी तो मुझे मतलब आई वाज टू हैविंग कन्वर्सेशन विद हस्बैंड बिकॉज़ ऑब्वियसली इट इन्वॉल्वड हिम आल्सो, राइट? सो आई
Hmm.
एम लाइक, आर यू ओके विद इट? ही सेड दैट मत डाल, एंड आई एम लाइक ठीक है. बट एक दिन मैं ऐसी थी कि आई जस्ट नीड टू टॉक अबाउट इट यार.
Hmm.
आई हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. मेरा जब आईआईटी में एडमिशन हुआ मैंने बात की, मैंने जब माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में हुआ मैंने बात की, मैंने जब बांकी बिट्टी किया मैंने बात की. जब इतना कुछ लाइफ चेंजिंग हो रहा है ये, उसके बारे में बात क्यों ना की जाए? क्यों
Right.
नहीं? मतलब नॉट, व्हाट इज देयर, यू नो, लाइक बोलते कि सबको पता चल जाएगा.
Hmm.
सो तो मैंने उसको बोला कि यार आई आई वांट टू डू इट बिकॉज़ इट विल मेक मी फील गुड, प्लीज. तो ही वाज लाइक, इट्स ओके, यू गो फॉरवर्ड, यू डू व्हाटएवर मेक्स यू फील गुड.
Hmm.
सो आई पुट दैट रील एज यू नो लाइक एन ऑनर की तरह से मैंने डाला. If you go back to the reel, there are so many comments, and you know, anyone who's watching this video who's made a comment on that video, I really want to tell you कि मैंने एक एक comment पढ़ा है. I just did not have the heart to, you know, revisit and like everything or respond to those comments. I just did not have. I mean, मुझसे वो reel देखी नहीं जाती दोबारा.
Yeah.
लेकिन I read all the comments and I told Ganesh कि Ganesh, it's not about the numbers or engagement or anything, but look how many people relate to this. How many women have put down their hearts on this one reel. I got so many messages from women saying that I just had a miscarriage. जिनके बारे में मेरे को पता भी नहीं था. Women that I know myself, they were texting me and saying कि just 3 months back I went through something like this. Just 5 months back. Women I know in corporate who did not take any maternity leave, who did not go, you know, who did not tell anyone. They just went through this silently. So when everyone around you, I mean, not everyone, but so many women around you are going through this. Like, why are there not enough conversations about this? I don't know. See, if you have enough conversations about it, number one, you'll be prepared.
Yeah. Right.
You know कि ऐसा होता है. Ooh.
Max is high.
Yeah. And secondly, God forbid, but if ever something like that happens, um, you will have a community of people who are ready to support you.
Right. Right.
Now, although like my personal page, I know it's a little personal to talk about like many things, but one of the things that people know, you know, कि Anjali has also gone through this. So मुझे आते हैं कभी कभी messages कि you know, how do you deal with these things?
Hmm.
How do you do this? Although social media it looks like, oh, everything is perfect, but you know how it is, right? Like they want to
Yeah.
know कि,
Yeah.
but how, like you came and asked me कि अच्छा. So I think it is so important to talk about this, especially because more than 50% or around 50%
Hmm.
janta is, right? There are women who've either gone through it or there are women who might go through it in the future.
Hmm.
There are young girls who should know about it.
Yeah.
Not in a scary way, of course.
No, of course, of course. This is life. It is supposed to. Something right or wrong will happen to us. That is life. It is unpredictable. No one can know about it.
Yeah. So इन चीजों से डील करना थोड़ा इजी हो जाता है मुझे लगता है. एंड स्पेशली जबकि हमारी सोसाइटी ने इस चीज को काफी आइसोलेटिंग बना रखा है, इस एक्सपीरियंस को.
Hmm.
बात नहीं, बताना नहीं. जैसे कि मेरी फैमिली मेंबर्स को भी ऑफ कोर्स पता चल गया फिर इसके बाद. तो सिर्फ मेरे एक कज़न थे, उन्होंने मुझे मैसेज किया और किसी ने मैसेज भी नहीं किया कि हम क्या बोलेंगे, बिकॉज ये ऐसे टैबू है ना
Yeah,
ये.
exactly. Exactly. This was the very reason I asked you, ki why did you choose to actually put it in social media? Because it is such a big taboo. It is going to help a lot of women out there who might be going through it or who have gone through it, right? Ki, and this conversation as well. I hope this conversation help people, women especially, ki, you know, you can get out of it.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You know, it was so surprising.
Yeah.
मुझे खांसी बुखार हो जाता था ना, मेरे पापा would just shower all the love and call me and video call me and stuff. After this, even my father did not call me. You think he was not concerned? Obviously, he was concerned. He was concerned to death. But क्या बोले? ये तो लड़कियों की चीजें हैं. इसमें थोड़ी क्या?
We men, हम लोगों को ना इस तरीके से सिर्फ सिखाया होता है कि डोंट बार्ज इन इनटू अ वुमेन्स प्राइवेसी.
It's not even about privacy.
But then
It's
it is your own daughter. It is your own daughter. People should understand that. Not criticizing uncle in any way. I can understand his situation.
I also understand. I understand why he might not have felt comfortable calling me or talking about it, or and while
I
वो
mean,
एक time होता है
I'm sorry, Anjali, I'm cutting you in between, but miscarriage is a very big thing, right? Leave alone that fathers do not talk about their daughters having their periods. It is.
पेटे पीड़, पेटे पीड़.
For the Hindi speaking audience, what we are saying, कि पेट में दर्द है. This is Pahadi that we were saying, right?
तो एक meanwhile women.
We need to come out of this, yeah.
This. We can put this as in the reel.
बात नहीं करनी है इसके बारे में. This is a taboo. Hush, 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 hush.
Why should women suffer alone?
Yeah.
सबको घुसाओ इसमें.
People should know. See, it is about letting people know that this happens. This is something that happens can happen. I do
Anyway.
not know. I'm falling short out of words. My that same typical thing. I do not know. No matter how much I try to send the message across, but then again, I'm still a man that has been brought up in this society, right? Unconsciously, I'm falling short of words what to say. However, I do want to bring the message across.
I'm just saying that just acknowledging the very fact कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है, which comes with a lot of physical wounds in a way, which needs recovery, with emotional, obviously, एक तरह से emotionally आप थोड़े से hurt होते हो उस चीज में. Just support in that, just acknowledging कि ये भी होता है, इसमें थोड़ा सा help चाहिए होता है, even if it is just cooking. मतलब I don't know how to put this, but long distance में तो you can't cook meals for your daughter, but just a phone call and that's to inquire if you're doing okay. Are you taking your medicines on time?
That is
ये
sure.
जूस पी लेना, ये कर लेना, just मतलब just practical technical things are also okay, but just being completely oblivious कि नहीं, इसके बारे में मतलब जैसे कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है, for someone जो एक छोटी सी खांसी में भी concern हो जाते हैं.
Anjali, I want you to send a message to the fathers. All the fathers who are.
I hope my father is not watching this. He's like, अबे तू बाहर जाके ऐसे बोलती मेरे बारे में. I don't know if I want to send any message to fathers, honestly, but I want to definitely talk to, men almost my age, who will become fathers, or who are already young fathers to young little girls or even boys. Um, Actually, I don't want to send any message. I think this entire podcast was a message only. It was me sharing my story and talking about how this is normal. I want to talk about it with a smiling face, in a nice lighting, with a nice bang, and just looking okay. Uh, because ऐसा नहीं that miscarriage is going to like it's obviously loss एक तरह का grief होता है उसमें, but it's also physical recovery. And I think that also happens once you have a baby, but then you have a baby in hand, so
Right.
वो लोगों को थोड़ा समझ आता है, but इस केस में समझ नहीं आता है क्योंकि ये थोड़ा silently जाता है ना चीजें.
Right.
तो I want to talk about it uh, because I want to normalize this. I want to normalize this. ये एक ऐसी चीज होती है जिसमें तुम फिजिकली भी रिकवर करने की तुम्हें जरूरत होती है और मेंटली भी. So, support from your family, from your immediate family, if it's your brother, if it's your father, you really look forward to that,
Right.
for their care and love. So, yeah, I think that's all I want to say.
That is a lot that you have said about social media advocacy, about what happened, what message you sent, what were the messages you received, right? Thank you for breaking this silence, Anjali.
I'm so glad I could.
And thank you for sending a ray of hope, I would say.
Yeah. Also, I want to say, you will always, for anyone who's had, who's been had the misfortune of going through this, it gets better. I mean, obviously, वो चीज कभी refill नहीं होगी. In fact, there are worse kinds of miscarriages. There are stillbirths. There is a lot more, traumatic experiences that people go through. Although we can't compare, because जो आपके साथ होता है वो मतलब आपके लिए सबसे बुरा ही है.
Exactly.
You can't compare. But still, there is so much going on. You know, मतलब इस अगर आप इस सेगमेंट की भी बात करो तो मिसकैरेज भी बहुत तरह के होते हैं. तो everyone has their journeys and everyone has their coping mechanism and everyone takes their own sweet time. But वो चीज़ आपको कभी वापस नहीं मिलेगी. वो चीज़ आपको कभी वापस नहीं. आज भी जैसे मैं सोचती हूँ कि अच्छा अभी इतने महीने हो गए होते हैं, अभी ये हो रहा होता है, अभी हम शायद ये कर रहे होते हैं, ये कर रहे होते हैं. But you learn to live with it, and you get okay. You get okay. So yeah.
You're a strong woman, Anjali.
Well, thank you. वो मेरे पति को पता है कितनी स्ट्रांग हूँ मैं. Yeah.
Okay. I believe that will be the podcast, right? We have discussed in detail what a miscarriage is, right? What are the emotions that surround it? What are the coping mechanisms that you used particularly? Why you chose to be vocal about it, and what message you wanted to spread across, right? These are the whole of the things, the whole points that we discuss in this podcast, and we want the listeners to be aware, right? And take care of themselves. Do you want to
Thank
say?
you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. Um, I always wanted to talk about it someday, but you gave me such amazing platform to talk about it. So I'm glad we did this.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you for being vocal about it and not getting like subsumed in the taboo that exists with this whole thing. Okay. With the ending note, I want to thank my audiences to listening to this, for watching this podcast. Kindly please like, share, and subscribe. We at Cognify are building a community also in which we'll be able to help mental health professionals and people who might be seeking mental health support. They can come to our website, cognify.io, and soon we'll be launching in the market though. But if you need any kind of help, you're not alone. We'll be there to help you. With the ending note, take care of yourself, and yeah, bye.